And welcome to the pilot, episode 1. I don't really know what we'll call it.
Yeah, pilot good.
Of
Cool.
the Lateforloadin podcast. I'm Chris. I play guitar for the band The Ghost Inside. This is my co-host, Josh. He's a piece of shit.
Thank you.
We just wanted to take a second to kind of tell you guys about what we're trying to do here with this podcast and kind of what mine and Josh's relationship is like and where it started and where it grew from.
I met Chris when he was probably close to 11 years old, and my first probably memory is he was skipping school with another friend of mine. And
that's not the first one.
I probably was skipping school too because that's what I did. And I was, I went up to our friend's house, and there was Chris's mom beating on the front door, and you would have thought she was going to try to kill me because her son was in there, and I probably didn't. I don't know if I even knew he was in there.
You knew.
Okay, I knew. Whatever. But that's.
Don't try to get yourself out of this.
That's how it started. Yeah.
So Josh met when we were both pretty young, and the reality of it is that our friendship really started when we started playing in our first band ever together. And I always blame Josh and another mutual friend of ours as the reason that I've turned into such a degenerate and traveled the world for the past,
I'll take that.
14 years, give or take. But yeah, I mean, we both grew up in Maryland together. We played in bands for years, which was the same band with a varying lineup of people surrounding me and Josh under multiple different names. But we just grew up playing music together, going to shows, playing really shitty bars, and loading my drums in the trunk of my mom's car so that she could drive me to shows when I was 11 years old. But that's where
your mom drove us to our very first show ever. In her, I think it was in a white minivan, if I remember correct.
Sounds about right. You're remembering more than I do, but yeah. I mean, my mom really showed up and kind of delivered for us a lot back. I mean, my family in general did. My grandfather would drive us to shows in Virginia and rent vans for us and stuff. But you know, that's where it really started for both of us. Really, is we both enjoyed music, but we both really fell in love with bands and being in a band and the whole music industry side of things, playing in my grandparents' basement, 20 plus years ago. And here we are.
I actually always was curious, and I don't know that I've ever actually asked you this, but because I knew when I moved to Florida, you joined Texas in July shortly after that when, your other band dismembered or whatever ended up happening. But I knew you were in Texas for a long time. And then how did you actually get into the Ghost Inside? Because I mean, those were like our brothers. I toured with them for so long. And then, I feel like I just remember hearing one day, oh, Chris is in the Ghost Inside. And I was like, well, that Chris? Like, holy fuck, like, holy shit, And so I'm curious about how you joined the Ghost Inside.
Yeah, so my previous band, Texas in July, did a Devil Wears Prada tour at the end of 2013 that the Ghost Inside was on, and we just hit it off with them like immediately, as pretty much any band that has toured with the Ghost Inside has. They're always down to hang, and they're always a good time to be around. And so my band really connected with them like basically from day one of that tour, and I just stayed in touch with the guys, especially Jim. I talked to Jim probably the most after that tour. And I would go and hang out with them when they would come through Baltimore. And they did a tour at the end of 2014. And Baltimore was the second to last night of the tour.
Oh, interesting.
I went to hang out, and they mentioned to me that the next day, the final day of the tour, was Aaron's last day in the band, which obviously shocked me. I would have never guessed that was a thing. But roughly around that time, I had also, Texas in July had just had a tough conversation about it probably being the right time to kind of pack it in. Like things were going in the wrong direction, and we could all kind of feel it. And we had the tough conversation of like, okay, at the end of 2015, we're probably going to call it a day with Texas. So I just happened to mention to Jim, and I believe it was Andrew I was also talking to at the time, I was like, hey, I'm sure you guys have somebody already in mind for all of your touring stuff next year to fill in for Aaron. But if you need somebody, I'm about to have a lot of free time, I'd be more than happy to come play some breakdowns with you guys. And probably a month after that day, Jim called me and was like, hey, we have these tours coming up. We don't have anybody. Would you be willing to come fill in? And I was like, yeah, without a doubt. You just tell me when and where to be, and I'll show up. And yeah, they've been stuck with me ever since. Mostly because they tried to kill me in a bus accident, and they feel guilty and they can't get rid of me now.
I was gonna go there, and first of all, I wanted to say that you must really like them, because I can remember a pretty good amount of times on my hand that I came to Baltimore and I hit you up and you did not come hang out. So I don't know if there's just a coincidence or what it could have been, but
that's
anyway,
also not true. I was probably on tour myself.
Well, okay, regardless of the fact, I was going to bring up that accident because it was going to be, a lot of people don't know this, but we were going to do our very first tour together ever. Before that, so before the accident, then that tour got canceled, which blah, blah, blah. But regardless, even after that, we were supposed to do Australia together. And that was going to be the first time, like, talking about us coming up in your grandma's basement and blah, 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 blah. That was going to be the first time ever that we got to tour together. So I thought, and we had done some shows, because I remember seeing you in Germany at Rock im Ring, Rock im Park,
the festival circuit,
and things like that. But this was going to be an actual tour, and that was going to be like a really cool full circle moment. And then obviously, what everyone knows of the accident, or if you don't know of the accident, it was horrendous. And I was thinking about this randomly. I was actually telling the story last night to one of the dads at soccer when I was talking about this podcast with him, and I was telling the story, I was showing the pictures, and I was driving home, and I was just thinking about it, and I remember, because I don't think I had your mom's number at the time, so I was just calling and Facebook messaging, because your grandma's on my Facebook, and like I was just trying to figure out how to get a hold of whoever I could get a hold of to make sure that you were alive. You know what I mean?
Like, it was fair question.
It was man, it was crazy. So yeah, we joke all the time, but I'm thankful you're alive.
You know what? You and me both. And I'm definitely guilty of joking about that, but it's one of those things where it's like, if I don't laugh, I'll cry kind of things. And
yeah, totally.
So, nearly 10 years removed, thankful to still be here and still getting to do the band in any capacity when it very much could have gone away in that moment, but yeah, I definitely guilty of joking about it, maybe a little too much, and I've done it and definitely made people uncomfortable unintentionally. But it's just my way of processing. But I also feel like we skipped a few steps here because because we grew up in Maryland together, right? And we played in bands together. But then you moved to Florida, you started a new band, and you did that band for a while. And I booked you here in Maryland so that you guys could come play in Maryland a few times. But after that band came to an end, you ended up tour managing Motionless In White for a long time. How did that come to be?
So it was crazy. That band had broken up, and I don't remember how it happened, but Chris and I we played shows together for a long time, from even when I was in bands in Maryland. Motionless would come down and play at Fletcher's with us, and then we actually, believe it or not, met for the very first time at a skate park in South Carolina.
So random.
Yeah, it was random. The stage was in the middle of a half pipe at a skate park.
I played a show like that too.
Yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, we just stayed in touch, and then I would always try to help them out and bring them down to Baltimore, and when we did shows at Fletcher's, and maybe the Record, maybe I can't remember, but regardless. Anyway, we just stayed in touch over the years, and he called me and was like, "Hey man, we need a tour manager." And I was like, "Well, I don't know what the hell that is." And he was like, "Well, we just want, I just want you on tour. So like, do you want to come do this?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, I want to come do this. Like, tell me when and where to be, and I'm there. Like, I'm definitely there, Right. And I didn't give a shit what I was doing. I just wanted to be there, and I mean, I was guitar teching at the time, cannot play a single chord on the guitar. Helping with whatever I could. And I always say this, and I'll say it for the rest of my life. I owe Chris everything. I mean, if it wasn't for that phone call, I don't know what I would be doing. I'm sure I would have figured something out, but like, man, he gave me that opportunity and he took a risk on me because I didn't know what I was doing or how to do that job or whatever they needed. But I just was, I knew I was going to figure it out, and I owe him. I owe it all to him. I mean, not to say that he made my career, but if it wasn't for that call, I don't know where I'd be right now.
Well, yeah, he was the first one to extend that hand down to say, okay,
Yeah.
come with us. We're going to give
Yep.
you this
Exactly.
opportunity. But you got to give yourself some credit for being willing to
I
step up
know.
and take that risk. And that's actually
Right.
something that's come up in some of the episodes we've recorded
It
so
is.
far is it seems to be a common thread for a lot of the people who have been fortunate enough to make a career in this industry is that when the opportunity arose, even if they necessarily maybe didn't feel like they had the skill set to pursue this opportunity, they just said, fuck it, I'm jumping in feet first and I'm going to
I
go
had to
for it.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got the call for Texas, how did you feel? Did you,
I was terrified.
was it this, it had to be the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. Because that was so far above what I felt was within my playing capabilities at the time, and going on tour for the first time for 6 weeks straight with people that I barely knew at all. I had never spent more than probably 20 minutes with these people. But the opportunity was one I couldn't pass up, and I just had to be like, count me in. And
Yeah.
I will silently panic for the months leading up to it while I'm trying to prepare, but I'm going to go and do the best that I can. And luckily it paid off, and I think that a
Totally.
lot of that is just being willing to take the risk and do your best. And, maybe it won't be perfect, but you just got to figure it out as you go. And that's all you can do.
It's so neat though. That's one of my favorite things about this concept of this podcast is that we get to, I am fascinated by hearing people's journeys because I know what my journey was, and I know that it wasn't always easy, and I know that times were tough. Thankfully, I've always had my girlfriend and now my wife for, I met her, it must have been a month before my first tour with Motionless.
So she's been there the whole way.
The whole freaking way. And she just rode, and it had to be new for her. It was new for me because at the height, we were going 10 months a year,
Right.
every year,
Right.
and it was not easy. So for her to stick with me, it's been to have that like solid foundation has been really, really cool. And has been awesome to be able to always, when you go home, it's the same every time. So I feel like that helped me. But it's interesting to me to hear everybody else's journey and how they navigate and how they have gotten as to where they've gotten throughout their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's one of
Clear your throat. Go ahead. Clear it up. Clear it up.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Like I really enjoy hearing people's journeys because it's never the straight line that like social media would have you believe. It's never this like start a band one day, become a giant artist the next, or a couple years down the line.
Fireworks in Germany and shit.
Right. It's never that straight line. It's fucking.
You did that though.
Well, yeah, but there was a couple things that were between starting a band at 11 years old and having fireworks in Germany.
That's true.
There were a few things that happened between there, but there's.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention that you did that.
That's fair.
All right.
I respect that.
Finish.
But yeah, it's I'm always really intrigued by hearing about the ebb and flow of everything, like the highs and lows, like the curveballs that you didn't see coming. And everybody handles situations like that different. I know that I handle things not always the best, and I don't always handle things rationally. And I'm always interested in learning how to handle things like that better myself. And I'm always interested in how my peers are handling things like that. So really like the journey, the hardships, the triumphs, like all that stuff is what interests me and inspires me to like kind of keep pushing forward for myself in my career. And so, it's been really like rewarding and really fulfilling to get a chance to like, obviously these people are our friends, right? And so far we've spoken to mostly our friends, but I feel like we're having conversations with them on a different level where
that was exactly what I was going to say.
They're kind of willing to open up and give us more than what you would get, hanging out on a normal day of tour. They're kind of so far been willing to go a little bit deeper with us, which has been really really, really cool and like really humbling that they've been willing to do that with us.
Well, yeah, because you see these people in passing a lot of times, right? And that's one of the crazy things about tours is that, and I think we talked about this on one of the episodes, but you meet these people and you hit it off. You might hit it off with a dude on a tour, and the tour you hang out for 6 weeks and you're bros, and then at the end of that tour, you may never see that person again. Or on the other side of it, you may see them at a festival, but you don't get a chance to have these real life conversations with them. So it's allowing us to chat and get to know these people on a different level and a more in-depth level than what we potentially would have the opportunity to do, even if they were your best friend. Because a lot of times, some of these topics you just don't talk about. You know what I mean? And I don't know for whatever reason that is, but you just don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess that leads us to like really what our goal with this podcast is, because there are 9 million different music podcasts out there, you know, and dudes and bands starting podcasts and stuff. And really what we're aiming for here is just to like kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and give everyone a chance to like figure out and hear who these, you know, people and bands are when they're not on the stage. Like take that stage persona, take that social media persona away. Like, who is this person in this band? And really trying to like give you an opportunity, like imagine you're a fly on the wall in the front lounge of a tour bus hanging out with us and our peers. This is your kind of like peek behind the curtain of what life is really like on the road, what it's really like to be in a band, what it's really like to be someone who works in the music industry, in any part of the industry for that matter. So we're really just trying to create a space for vulnerable conversation, honest conversation, and give a real inside look at what being, you know, a full-time musician, producer, manager, booking agent, whatever it may be, to get a real look at what that is actually like.
And the cool thing to me is that it is peer-to-peer. It's not, and this is not a knock on the media, but it's, you know, we're not just two guys who have an interest. We've done it. We've lived it. We've walked it. So we get to have these conversations with these people and share relatable stories. And to be honest, for me, it's been a little bit therapeutic for me to have some of these conversations, because I get to understand how you deal with similar situations. And you know, it's been not only therapeutic, but sometimes educational. Because it's like, well, maybe if he handled that way, or his view on this is that, then maybe if I try to apply that in my daily life, then maybe I can be a better version of me as well, you know? And that was never a goal of mine. It just is seeming to have happened. And, you know, it makes it even more exciting.
Yeah. And sometimes it's even just hearing that someone else who has lived this lifestyle, has experienced the same things, is enough to feel validated in my experiences or our experiences or whatever it may be, and just being able to kind of find that common ground with our peers too, that, you know, as you said, it may be a topic that we don't ever get a chance to talk about on tour, because there's 9 million other things going on and you don't always get a chance to get into deep conversation. So yeah, overall, it's just been an extremely rewarding process so far, and I'm really excited to like dig in more with even more of our peers.
And two, it is like, let's be honest, this is not the worst job in the world. We do live a pretty damn cool lifestyle.
We're extremely fortunate.
We are extremely fortunate, and there is a lot of cool shit that we get to experience. But there is a darker side to it, and that's the side that the majority of people don't get to see and don't really, you know, the majority of guys and girls don't want to talk about. Right. So one of the other full circle moments for me, though, I have to say is, and I know I'm kind of backtracking just a little bit, but I don't know if I've ever told you this or not. One of the biggest full circle cool moments for me was when I was tour managing the Ghost Inside after the accident. And I was the tour manager for y'all's very first time back on a tour bus. Yep. That was something that for me, because I've always looked at you as like my little brother, it was like this moment of looking after my little brother when he's gonna, you know, learn to walk again, essentially. Sure. You know, and those dudes are some of my best friends, you know, but you and I have been together for a really, really long time. So that was like man, these guys are trusting me to help them navigate this major moment. You know what I mean? Yep. It was really, really cool. And I appreciate that. And I never have, I don't take stuff like that for granted. You know, it's always those type of things really mean something to me. So it was neat to be able to be a part of that. And it was interesting how life led us back to that moment. And then even to this moment now where, you know, after all these years, we found, yet again something else to work on together, you know. So this is going to be a really exciting journey, and I'm excited for people to get an opportunity to actually, you know, walk it with us this time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy how being friends for 24 years now, we played in bands together for a few years, and for almost 20 of those years, we were off doing our own things, kind of carving our own path into making a career in the music industry, just to today end up back here, like you said, working on something else together. So, really cool. You know, I'm strapped in. I'm ready to see where this takes us. It's been super fun so far. And I hope everybody listening to this enjoys it as well, and can take, you know, something away from each episode. Each episode with our guests will probably bring in fans of each guest's band or whatever it is that they do. But I hope that if you're here because, you know, somebody from your favorite band is on an episode, that you stick around and check out some of the other episodes as well, because everyone we've recorded so far genuinely has had something that I think is of value for everyone.
Especially if you're interested or wanting to explore the idea of getting into the business. There's so much insight to learn from these people that I wish we had available to us when we were young.
Absolutely.
And we didn't. So I encourage you guys. I want to encourage you guys to find you a little brother who is as much of a pain in the ass as Chris has been to me.
That's
over the years.
That's going to be hard to do because I'm a giant pain in the ass.
But also pushes you to be the better version of yourself that they know that you're capable of being. So,
and find you an asshole big brother that just tells you you're a piece of shit all the time.
Do that too. Do that too.
But on that note, if you are listening to the episode right now that we are filming and recording at the moment, the day that it comes out, you can also go and listen to episode 1 of Late for Load In, which is with our very good friend, Josh Balls, formerly of Motionless in White, currently the unofficial mayor of Scranton, Pennsylvania. And you'll hear all about that and what that even means in his episode. And that's a really fun one.
And having him a part of the first episode was also, you know, I keep going back to this full circle thing, but you know, I got my career started with tour managing Motionless, trying to tour manage, pretending like I knew what I was doing and getting through it.
Faking it till you make it, man.
That's what I had. I had no other option. So, but having him be the first one was really, really cool, and yet again another full circle moment. So I hope y'all enjoy it.
Yep. And on that note, I just appreciate anybody taking any time to listen to anything that we put out. I really hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, if you're listening to this to the day it comes out. And yeah, if you're listening to this God damn it. And yeah, if you're listening to this the day that it comes out, definitely make sure to go listen to Ball's episode. We'll be dropping episodes weekly from here on out. So check back. I was going to say a day of the week, but we don't have a day of the week yet.
Yeah, you have to keep all this in here.
No, I'm not going to do that.
You can't edit all this out.
All right, fine. I'll keep it.
All right, good.
Anyway, yes, if you're listening to this the day that it comes out, you can also go listen to Ball's episode right now. There will be weekly drops. I'm not sure what day of the week.
Once we figure out the date, we'll let you know.
We will let you know. Make sure to follow us on Instagram. It's Lateforloadin. I should know this before I say this.
Lateforloadin, at Chris_TGI, and at Josh Korel.
That's that. Well, I'm going to leave that in there now too, because you gave him the goods. Also, worth noting, you can listen to this wherever you listen to any of your podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, any of that stuff. But you can also watch the episodes on our YouTube channel. Just search Late for Load In Podcast on YouTube, and that'll bring you to all of our episodes. And on that note, I appreciate you all.
Tell them about the Patreon.
Okay. Yes. So there is a Patreon, and yes, this is the second time we're recording this because I didn't have my shit together when we talked about it the first time, and I wanted to make sure that we got you the proper information. So yes, there is a Patreon for the Late for Load In podcast. It's patreon.com/LFLI pod. And we wanted to tell you a little bit about the perks that come along with joining. First and foremost is you get the podcast episodes a day early. As well as that, we're going to do things like monthly giveaways for patrons that will include possibly some of the rare memorabilia from our touring days. Josh has a ton of shit from...
Too much shit.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair, both of us do. Just stuff we've collected from being on the road over the years that we would be happy to give away to anyone who is supporting the podcast. The idea is that we want to give back to you for helping us out. On top of that, we're going to do monthly patron-only live streams where we review and react to music. Could be your band, could be just new releases. And And when we can make it happen, we're going to try to have some special guests, maybe some of the guests from the podcast episodes. We're going to see what we can do there. But at very least, you're going to be able to hang out with Josh and I live once a month and listen to some new music. And then the last perk, at least for now, you will get access to the Late for Load-In podcast Discord server, where you can be a part of the community, interact with each other, talk about the episodes. You'll be able to do things like submit requests for future guests, and we'll even open up a channel where you guys can submit questions for guests that we have coming onto the show, and we will, and if any of them are solid, we will definitely ask them on the episodes, and you'll be able to hear your favorite artists answer your burning questions live.
And I think
on the
we
podcast.
could even credit the question to the person who submitted it.
Absolutely would.
Yeah.
Absolutely would. So you could hear your question answered.
And your name.
And your name answered directly back to you on the podcast. On that note, I also want to say that in the episode, I started to mention a day of the week that we're going to upload. At that time, we didn't know, but we figured it out. So every Wednesday morning, you should be able to wake up, open your favorite podcast consuming app, or go to our YouTube channel, and you will have a new episode of Late for Load-In. We have the first 9 episodes ready to go for you guys as of us recording this right now. So you should have at least right now 2 months of episodes to consume, with more on the way. And yeah, we just appreciate your guys' time. And on that note, if you're listening to episode 0 today, go listen to Josh Ball's episode right after this. I promise it's a good one. And we will see you guys later. Hey everyone, Chris here, and I just wanted to take a second to say thanks for watching today's episode. You can check out more episodes of Late for Load-In on the right side of your screen and find any applicable links to this episode in the description down below. There you'll also find a link to our Patreon, which is the most direct way to support the show, and it's only $1 a month. Please consider giving this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to follow us on all social platforms, at Late for Load-In, at Chris_TGI, at Josh Korel. See you guys next week.